What is life? Why am I here? How is it all connected, and how am I going to navigate this beautiful but crazy journey? I'm Sylvia and welcome to the Soul Sunshine Podcast. Today I'm talking to Nicky Kiel. Nicky is a passionate med and reformer Pilates instructor on a mission to empower individuals to become the strongest versions of themselves, both physically and mentally. With a deep-rooted love for Pilates, Nicky discovered its transformative power, connecting the mind and body through mindful movement. In 2024, Nicky founded Kiel by VRTUS, a boutique reformer Pilates studio located in Bondi's renowned VRTUS gym. The homely, welcoming, semi-private style reformer studio has quickly become a go-to for the fit and active Bondi community, offering high-energy, dynamic classes that fuse innovative workouts with a sense of connection and community. Nicky draws inspiration from healing modalities such as meditation and breathwork. Beyond the studio, Nicky creates and hosts holistic wellness events, blending movement with sound baths, breathwork, and other restorative practices to promote deep meditation and balance. With certifications from the Australian Physiotherapy and Pilates Institute and the bachelor's degree in psychology from the University of Queensland, Nicky brings a unique science-backed approach to wellness and movement. Nicky is also a mom of two beautiful little people. She loves spending time with her family and friends at the beach, and I'm so happy to have her here with me today. Welcome to the Soul Sunshine Podcast,
wow,
Nicky. It's
thank
so
you
good
so
to have
much.
you. What an introduction.
That was great. Where did you get all that information from? You pulled it together.
I've got my
Your sources.
My sources.
Great, I love that. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here today talking to you, Sylvia.
Love it. Thank you for being here.
First ever podcast that I'm doing today, so I've been a little bit nervous, but I'm excited.
That's exciting.
I'm glad it's with you because I'm comfortable, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
And it's pretty relaxed here, isn't it?
It is. It's really nice.
It's not too intimidating. That's good.
Yeah, exactly.
So before we're heading into our conversation today, I would also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, the Bidyagal, Birabirigal and Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, who were a shared saltwater group and traditionally occupied the Sydney coast. We pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. So today we are talking about Nicky's story. We are talking about her life as a marketing expert, the role mental health played in her life and how one call changed everything for her. We are talking about losing her mom to suicide and how this has changed how she sees life and how she ultimately started living her own life. We're also diving into Kiel by VRTUS, her boutique Pilates studio in Bondi, and the beautiful work she's doing there, serving the community to connect the mind and body through mindful movement. I do also want to mention that this podcast episode contains content about suicide and losing a loved one. We do realize that this can bring up trauma for people listening, so please do be aware of the content and just be honest with yourself if you are able to listen to this episode today. And for help when in Australia, please do call Lifeline on 13 11 14. And in other countries, please reach out and find support with your local helpline. So Nicky, before we are heading into the topics of our conversation today, I always start the podcast reminiscing about how I've met the people that I've got sitting in front of me. And with you, it's a funny one because our husbands went to high school together and they were really good friends at high school.
Yeah.
But then also your sister Claire married my husband's best friend from university, AJ.
Yeah.
So there's another connection. And
then
now
our kids play football together.
Our kids play footy
There's
together.
so many different ways that we connect. Yeah.
Standing on the sidelines now.
In the freezing cold, sometimes in the rain.
Yeah.
Watching the boys play football.
Exactly. So I thought about that, and it's funny how all those different,
I know, it's weird, isn't it? I don't remember do you remember the first time we met?
I think it was at a party in Bondi.
Was
years
it?
and years ago.
Oh, I can't remember.
I mean, long before kids, but I think it was done on, it was somewhere in Bondi at the house party. I feel like that's
that sounds about, that sounds about right. Bondi house party.
Yeah. But yeah, it's funny how those things then come together.
I know, it's crazy. And now you're a client, you come into the studio all the time.
I also do come into your
studio.
So
grateful to have you in there. So good.
It's been amazing. Yeah, we'll obviously go into your journey today around, the studio and everything. But yeah, it's been amazing seeing you, start it and be part of it and, come and join your classes. So I've really enjoyed that. But we'll go into that a little bit later.
Yeah, it's been nice to have you.
Awesome. So, Nicky, to start our conversation today, tell me a little bit about your background. What's your story?
Oh, it's a long...
Just a small question.
Just a long story. I'm about to turn 37. That's crazy. 37 years of a life. I feel like I've done a lot in this lifetime. I grew up in Brisbane, so in Queensland. I was born there, raised there by my mum, my dad. I have an older sister, younger brother. Had a beautiful childhood in Brisbane. Grew up in a suburb called The Gap, which is kind of west of Brisbane. Went to high school there. I still have friends of mine that I went to high school with, a lot of them. So I have really fond memories of my childhood and my teenage years there.
It seems like a very close-knit community, the Brisbane community.
It 100% is, yeah. I feel like people kind of stick together. Brisbane people stick with Brisbane people. Like I know, I still hang out with a lot of Brizzy people in Sydney.
Yeah.
I have friends that move overseas and still hang out with Brizzy people in London or New York. Or
I love that.
I feel like we're always drawn to each other.
Yeah.
Good energy. I feel like Brisbane people are good people. Yeah, so had a great childhood, a great upbringing. After I finished school, I went on to study psychology at the University of Queensland. And I did about a year, and then I decided I didn't want to do uni for a while. I wanted to have a bit of a break from learning and from structure, and I moved to Sydney for a couple of years because I was modelling at the time. So I moved to Sydney where the fashion industry is kind of, you have the best opportunities in Sydney out of everywhere in Australia. So I moved here to do that kind of full-time for a couple of years, and then once I was kind of over that industry, it wasn't really for me anymore. I knew I wanted to have something else behind me, so I went back to study in Brisbane, moved back to Brisbane, finished off my psychology degree. I did Bachelor with Honours, so you have to do the 4th year, wrote the thesis, and then my option from there was to go on to do the Masters or the PhD, which allows you to become a accredited psychologist. But I was, at that point, just wanted to work.
Yeah.
I was just over the study, and to be honest, I had worked also in a psychology practice while I was studying in Brisbane, and I had a lot of exposure to what the day-to-day life of a psychologist is like, and it had kind of lost its appeal for me a little bit, to be honest. And so I thought, okay, I've got this degree, I'm going to go back to Sydney. I loved Sydney always, and I wanted to always live at the beach, but I wanted to be in a big city where there's lots of opportunities.
Yeah.
So Sydney's always been my favourite city in Australia, so I moved back to Sydney as soon as I finished studying and started working in market research, essentially using customer data to understand consumers better so that brands can advertise to them. And then I was in that industry for the next 8 years, working in marketing, working in consumer insights within marketing teams, essentially in the advertising industry.
Yeah.
And that was awesome.
You did really well out of that, didn't you?
Yeah,
because
I did.
Remember, and I just told you that story before, but I remember back in the day getting them umbrella newsletters, and I remember opening it up and your face was like all over it because you just had been promoted and there was like a little article about you. And I remember thinking, oh my God, Nicky's doing like so well, you're really killing it.
Well, I feel like I gave that career a lot. I tried really hard. I put everything into it. I guess I progressed pretty quickly. I mean, by the time I left, I had built and was managing a team of consumer insights analysts and data analysts, and was working on some pretty awesome big projects in the outdoor advertising industry. And I felt that I had achieved quite a bit. And to be honest, I thought I would be going back to it after kids. I thought I'd be doing it forever.
Was your heart in it at the time?
Yeah, my heart was really in it at the time. The last couple of jobs I had in that industry, I felt like it was pretty stressful. I felt like when I got to a certain level, when I was managing a team and working on big projects, it was a lot of pressure. So there was definitely a lot of stress and intensity around it towards the end, but I was very passionate about it at the time. Yeah.
Beautiful.
And then I took a big break to have kids. I had my son, Axel. I actually went back to that career in between my 2 kids, so in between Axel and Imogen.
Yeah.
But only for about 8 months because I was pregnant again.
Yeah.
And then had to take another break and haven't been back since.
Yeah. So when you had Axel and
Yeah.
you were going back in between to work again in that industry, that was also the time when you lost your mom, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So-
So a lot of things happened kind of at once, which I think contributed to me kind of pivoting my whole career, the direction that I was going in. Yeah, I mean, so in so many ways, it contributed to so many different changes in me. I feel like, kind of looking back, I feel quite different now to how I was before I had kids and before, you know, those few years that were really, really intense. So yes, as we've already discussed, when Axel was about 15 months, I put him into daycare and I started a new job for one of the biggest retailers in the country. I was consumer insights manager there. And my job was to kind of build a team, build that function within the company because it was quite a new company, new arm of the business, I should say. I'd been in that job for about a week, literally a week, when I lost my mum. So it was during COVID. We just started, I think we'd gone into probably the first lockdown.
Yeah.
It was June, actually it was 5 years ago yesterday.
Yeah.
So the anniversary was yesterday.
Anniversary.
Yeah. So interesting timing to talk about this and cast my mind back to it, I guess.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I do remember because I remember it being after Claire's birthday, right? It was
Yes.
just Claire's birthday, and
Yeah.
then it happened not long after that.
Yeah, a few days after my dad's birthday too.
Yeah.
My dad's birthday was last week.
So take me back, Nicky, to that day, you know, and what happened on that day when you got that phone call that your mum had taken her own life.
So I think it was my day off work because I worked 4 days a week and I had my son at home with me and we were playing at home. There was not much to do. It was COVID. There was nothing really to do. We were at home a lot during those times. And Eddie was at home also. He was working from home, but he wasn't in the apartment. He was upstairs with some neighbours talking about strata stuff, having a meeting upstairs. And I was outside with Axel and I didn't have my phone on me. And he came downstairs and he said, "Your sister's on the phone. She sounds upset," and gave me the phone. And that's when she told me that Mum had passed away. And yeah, I guess it's that moment that you always kind of imagine in your head. I feel like everyone imagines that moment where you get that phone call or someone knocks on your door to tell you that a family member's died suddenly. And you just, I mean, I've always thought about it in my past and wondered what that would feel like.
What did it feel like?
It was exactly kind of what you expect, like just shock, disbelief, and then just like trauma, horrific. Yeah. So it came out of nowhere for us, really. There was no communication around a situation with her mental health before that. It was really one of those situations that you hear of that you never think is going to happen to you, where it completely blindsides you.
Yeah.
So that was our experience.
So it wasn't like you felt like she was struggling or, you know, things were going on.
Not that I knew
yeah.
at the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
My opinion, my belief is that it was pretty short-lived before that. It was just something that was really quick and intense. And for whatever reason, we will never know. I'm sure there was multiple contributing factors to it. But yeah, it just came out of nowhere. So it was COVID at the time. The borders were closed. My mum and dad were up in Brisbane. It happened at home. So my dad, unfortunately, was the one to find her. He'd gone to the gym that day and came back to that. It was pretty traumatic. And my sister and I got like a permit, I guess, to cross state borders into Queensland that afternoon. So we were on a flight that afternoon and we got there probably a matter of 4 hours later, 5 hours later.
Wow. So you got that?
Yeah, we got there really
quickly.
quickly.
Yeah.
And then we basically didn't leave the house for the next 2 weeks. So we were all there for the next 2 weeks, planning the funeral, just
being there for your dad.
surviving, being there for each other. It was actually a super awesome bonding experience just to spend those 2 weeks together because we all live in different places as well. I mean, obviously me and my sister are together here in Sydney and then my brother, dad are up there. But yeah, it was a wild couple of weeks, just like the things you go through in those weeks after just planning a funeral and the decisions you have to make.
It's like the logistics.
Oh my God, the logistics and like it's such a shock. But then you go into like planning mode and like you're writing eulogies and oh my gosh, the flowers coming through the front door. It was wild. It was a wild 2 weeks. Had the funeral. A few of my friends were able to come. We could only have 40 people at the funeral because of COVID. So that was hard. We had it like filmed, and then a few people could call in and watch it from other places. But that day was horrific. I remember having like the worst panic attack on the way to the funeral because I was doing a eulogy, but also it was just so overwhelming. I was panicking on the way to the funeral. It was awful. I could hardly breathe. I remember Eddie just driving and just being like, just breathe, just slow it down, just breathe. And I was like, I can't believe this is happening to me, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
did it feel real, or did it feel like you were, like, did it even feel real at that point? Or is it,
I don't know,
does it feel
like I guess it kind of felt, it all just feels like a bit of a haze, to be honest. Yeah, that whole next year feels like a haze, like a dream. Like it was a very blurry time, to be honest.
Yeah.
A lot of, grief is like full on. It's very exhausting. It's foggy. And then, of course, I got home from going back to the day of when Mum died. I had started to feel really nauseous that day. I remember actually the morning before Mum passed away, as in, you know, I'm going to say 8 hours before she died. She passed away at midday. I woke up 4 a.m, woke up so nauseous in the middle of the night, and I remember running to the bathroom and be like, I'm going to be sick. And sitting next to the toilet, and I didn't throw up, but I just sat next to the toilet for about half an hour thinking this is really strange. Went back to bed, went back to sleep, didn't really think anything of it, but the nausea continued. And I remember within that 2 weeks where we were staying all together in the house up in our family home up in Brisbane, you know, we had conversations with doctors, meetings, a meeting with a psychologist as a family, separately, with health professionals checking in on us. And I remember saying to a GP, my dad's GP, I'm feeling really nauseous. I can't seem to shake it. And I kind of forgot at that time that it had started before Mum died.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, sometimes when you go through such a traumatic experience, your adrenaline's really high and it's really hard to drop it down and it can cause nausea.
Yeah.
And we're all having trouble sleeping. So I thought, like adrenaline's high, right? And so he put me on like a super low dose of a sleeping tablet, which helps with nausea. So I was taking this like every day. It was helping a little bit actually, but not completely taking it away. Anyway, a week later when I got back to Sydney, this nausea was persisting and I was like, okay, I'm going to take a pregnancy test. I think this might be something other than shock. So I took a pregnancy test. I was also pregnant. And I think I was pregnant with Imogen, I think I was about 8 or 9 weeks. So I was like pretty late. Yeah. But I'd obviously been very distracted by everything else that had been going on. I think I was 9 weeks pregnant when I found out.
What was that like, finding out that you were pregnant with your second baby, like just a week after your mom passed away? Like, you know, going through
it was just too much. I remember just thinking, this is just too much for me right now. I had just started this new job. I'd lost my mom. Timing was so bad. Axel was 15 months. He did not sleep. He was just going through this terrible time of not sleeping. I was really struggling with the juggle, working and having a toddler. I really found that quite hard, going back to work. And I just remember thinking, this is too much. Like, how am I going to do this? And I remember calling Eddie and I was really pissed off. I was like, this is your fault. And that was my first reaction, was like anger at my husband.
And it's understandable, right? It's like that, obviously not in a rational way, but it's like when you're already dealing with so many things that are happening, it's like something else on top of it.
I know, like a big thing, right? And I was in this new job and I really wanted to give it a good crack. It was a good job. It was a role I was super excited about, and I'd have this like massive like hurdle put in my way with my mum. I'd taken then 2 weeks off, like my second and third week off in the job, and then I'd gotten back and I'm like, oh my God, I'm pregnant. How am I going to tell them now that I'm pregnant? Anyway,
especially when you're feeling sick as well, that's the worst.
Oh my God, yeah. So I'm trying to get up in the morning. I'm trying to show up for meetings. I'm taking Axel. I'm getting Axel ready for daycare. I'm taking him to daycare. Then I'm coming back and I'm like, all right, put your brave pants on and show up to these meetings, or go in. I was going into the office then because we kind of had a bit of office time, a bit of at home, like working from home.
Oh, the working from home is good.
Yeah, the working from home,
I remember being pregnant with Max, my first one, and I literally had to get up during meetings and I'm like, sorry, I just need to go to the bathroom, and I just went and I had to vomit, and then I came back. Well, with Raphael, it was the same. It was a bit
it's easier to hide at home, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Way easier to hide. As soon as we started as soon as we started going into the office a little bit more, it was very hard to hide. In fact, someone picked it up the first day I was in the office.
One of the girls?
One of the girls.
Yeah.
I was smashing snacks I was eating that pregnancy constantly, just sitting on my ass at the desk eating.
But it helps with nausea as well, right? Constantly having something.
And I think one of the girls was like, oh my God, this chick's definitely pregnant.
I love it. It's like, I don't even know her, but I'm sure she's pregnant.
Yeah, this girl's definitely pregnant. And then, that was hard. It was hard. Then I had to tell the employer and go through all that. Yeah, it was a hard pregnancy. Yeah. I'll never know what was grief, what was hormones. Yeah. The combination of the two were cooked.
Yeah,
really bad.
And then also, not to forget, you also had Axel, right?
Oh yeah, I had Axel, who was a tough toddler.
That's a tough age as well.
And he never let me sleep, so there was no rest.
Yeah.
I think kids are such a blessing when you're going through grief because it's such a distraction.
Yeah.
And I remember in one of those appointments with a doctor, maybe a psychologist, in those first few weeks after Mum died, the health professional said to me, it is a blessing that you have a child because when you have a child, you're practicing mindfulness constantly. You don't have time to think about what's going on, think about the past, think about the future, think too much about your problems.
Yeah.
You're doing something for someone else the whole time and you're thinking constantly about what the next thing to do for them is.
Yeah.
What you're going to give them for dinner, you've got to have that washing done, where are the groceries, like it's constant, right?
And it's especially at that age as well.
Yeah,
right?
And you're physically running after them constantly.
Yeah,
he was one of those really active boys.
They just want their mum, right?
Exactly.
So,
which is it's a good thing.
Yeah.
I felt honestly like that helped me so much. If I didn't have him, I would have struggled to get out of bed for sure.
Yeah, but
it would have been a different result.
Yeah.
Different grief.
I guess it's a different way of grieving and working through something that's really challenging when you do have to look after little people, than when you're like just by yourself.
You can't stop. You can't wallow in your self-pity. You can't lie in bed, and you have to get up and you have to wipe asses and make breakfast. Yeah.
And it's interesting because, I'm just thinking about my own experience with having kids and, just smaller challenges that you go through where it's exactly what you're saying, where you're like, oh my God, old me would have probably just stayed in bed for the day and had a cry for a day, you know. But you can't. You just have to get on with things.
You have to get
keep
on with
things
it.
rolling. And so,
so while that was like super exhausting, it was definitely helpful, I think.
Yeah. And then how was it when Imi was born? How did that change things for you? Because, going through pregnancy, when you were like going through your grief journey at the same time, like how was it to then hold that little baby?
Well, there was some concerns around how it would go after the birth of Imi. I remember doing a questionnaire when I was with my obstetrician at one of the appointments, and I think they might do this for everyone, but they give you a questionnaire to try and screen for likelihood of developing postnatal depression. And so they gave me this questionnaire, and I remember filling it out, and I didn't want to raise any alarm bells, so I was kind of lying on my answers. I was trying to make myself sound like I was happier than I was when really I was like in a dark hole. And so I remember fudging my answers slightly, and they went away and they scored my sheet, and they came back and they were like, we're really concerned about you. Wow. And I had lied. Like I had tried really hard to make myself sound happy. It was obviously that bad. And they said, we're really worried. You're at a very, very high risk to develop postnatal depression. We think you need to see someone, you need to see a psychologist, you need to do something about this before Imi comes along. And I had seen a psychologist, and it hadn't been a great experience, not because the psychologist, she was amazing. It just wasn't the right time. I just didn't want to talk about it. I didn't want to go over the story. I had no desire to be there.
It might have been too early.
It was exhausting because I just ended up crying and I could not turn it off. So I went home. I remember I was crying for like 2 days. And I was like, why did I do this? I am way too busy. Like, I need to get up in the morning. I need to show up for work. I need to show up for my son. I need to have a conversation with my husband. At the end of the day, I can't cry all day. Like, I just don't have the time for this. It's not the time. And, people worry and say, oh, you're not processing it then. Or I just feel like people put so much pressure on themselves to process things and to do grief in the right way. There is no right or wrong way to do it. There is no right time to address it. If you don't want to talk about it, maybe later is a better time. I don't know. I just wasn't ready.
I think it's different for each person, right? And it's like, if you don't feel like you want to go there yet, I think that's totally valuable, because
100%.
like, even though,
I think you've got to listen to yourself, listen to your body.
And like, going to therapy or doing coaching or whatever you do in that direction, yes, it does help you, but it doesn't help you without looking at some really challenging things, right? And if you're 100%. Not able to relive them yet, or like look at them yet from a more distanced point of view, it can be really all-consuming. And if you don't have that space, and if you're not ready,
I wasn't ready to give it the time. I just didn't feel like I had the time at the time. And I wasn't ready.
Yeah,
I needed to get through to the birth of my daughter and then address it, which was the right thing to do. Anyway, I was at high risk of getting postnatal depression. It was like the opposite. As soon as she was born, it was like something lifted.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
Beautiful.
I was I was happier, I was relaxed, it was like something that was missing, a part of me that was missing had been filled.
Yeah. Was it almost...
Not replaced, but like it helped,
Yeah.
And it was hard, don't get me wrong, it was hard knowing that I now had 2 toddlers without a mum, because I feel... going into the baby and a toddler, I feel like going into the first, having my son, I knew that I had the support of my mum and the support of my dad.
Yeah.
And that was like it was like a blanket of security, and mum was a really good grandma. She was really, really hands-on. She was really helpful. She knew when to like kind of stand back and let me do my own thing. She knew not to, push her opinions on me, give too much advice. She had it down, like she was a good grandma.
Yeah.
And she was a really good mother-in-law to Eddie, and she was great at it. And I had that for the first 15 months, and then I knew I was going into having 2 without that support, So that was daunting, don't get me wrong. But just having Imi, it just made me so much happier. Yeah. Just having my little girl, she was awesome.
It's like having another reason to
yes, exactly.
Going,
another
right?
reason. Yeah, 100%. And the next 6 months were hard because, having your second child, that adjustment to having 2 under 2 was a lot. And just feeling like I didn't really have the support, but we made it through.
Yeah.
And it's just been heaven since then. Like it's just gotten better and better.
Such beautiful little kids as well.
Yeah, they're the best, honestly. Yeah. They're 4.5 and 6.5 now, and I just think it cannot get any better than this.
It was so funny the other day when I saw you at footy training, and Imi said she needed to go to the bathroom, and she kept saying, "Mummy, it's coming down, it's coming down." And Max was there, like my son. And when you guys left, he goes like, "Is this what it's like to have a little girl? That's so weird." He was just like, what is going on here? Like, he just thought it was so funny. And
she's like, Mummy, it's coming out. Really, it's not. Because sometimes we get to the bathroom and then she can sit there for 5 minutes talking before it comes out.
I don't need to go to the bathroom at all.
She's just trying to stress me out so that I leave with her and go for a walk, basically.
Anyway, that was super cute.
Yeah, no, she's definitely... got a huge person. She makes us laugh so much. She's got a huge personality.
Yeah.
And she makes us very happy. So that's, it's really good.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Just to wind back for a little bit though, when it comes to grief, right?
Yeah.
Like, I remember, I think it must have been a couple of weeks after it all happened. And I remember running into you down at the beach and I said to you, "Oh my God, Nick, I'm so sorry, about what happened." And I can't remember the exact words, but it was something along the lines, I'm pretty sure it was actually exact words, but who knows if I remember correctly, something along the lines of, "Oh, this is just all so fucked up."
Yeah.
And it felt like you were obviously still in processing what had happened, right? And getting your head around it. How did grief work for you? Like, what helped you? What supported you through some of those, like you said, darkest moments that you've experienced along the journey?
Well, I think for the first year of grief, I don't think I was really doing much to try to help myself. It was just survival. Like, I don't think I was putting much effort into helping myself. It was just get up, get through the day so you can go back to bed. I was so tired. So exhausted. I've never felt fatigue like that.
Well, you lost your mom.
I lost my mum. I was pregnant.
And you were pregnant.
Yeah, and I was in a new job.
And you were in a new job.
And my iron, I don't know if you know iron levels. You know how what's that
Yes,
number that they give you? My iron went down to 5.
Oh, yeah. I was on 8 recently.
Were you?
Yeah, I was struggling.
So I went down to 5,
so
which means that, like, basically if I walked down to the cafe, I would have to go home and have a nap. I was so tired. So there was no like putting work into it was just get through the day, get back to bed. And then after I had my daughter, that's when I kind of started to, you know, put some effort into the whole grief thing. I was like, I kind of saw it as a bit of a challenge. I was like, okay, starting from the bottom here, physically, emotionally, lifestyle wise, I'm starting from the bottom. I've got a lot of stuff to move, to process. What am I going to do? And then I just started to move my body again, because I hadn't moved I was so debilitated. The pregnancy was so tough and I was so crunched for time because of everything else that was going on in my life that I had unfortunately let exercise go. So I started to put a bit more time into exercise. Went back to Pilates. I'd been doing Pilates for a while. Before Axel was born, I was even doing it. And I fell in love with it when I was pregnant with Axel. That was kind of my first... the first like time in my life where I started to really lean on Pilates when I was pregnant. And so I got back into that, and that really helped. Like, I was like, I'm feeling a little bit more like myself. I feel like there's such a connection between how you feel within your body and how you feel within your mind. I strongly believe that. As soon as I started to feel physically a little bit stronger, my mind started to clear a little bit. I started to get sleep back again when Imi was a few months old. And then, of course, we threw a renovation in there. We decided to renovate.
Don't have enough.
We didn't have enough going on. So we decided to renovate and fully gutted our place. And anyway, that was kind of like, I didn't do all that much, to be honest. I started doing things like, I saw a kinesiologist. That was kind of the first thing I did. I was like, okay, so I don't feel like seeing a psychologist right now. And this is coming from someone who's studied psychology. I have a great respect for what they do. Yeah. But I just, for some reason, I felt like it
wasn't the right thing.
I couldn't talk this out. This was like deep in my body. This was like energetically held within me. And I didn't even have the words to describe that at the time. But that, I just felt like talking was not going to help. So I knew I had to try something else. I got recommended a kinesiologist and had amazing experiences with this kinesiologist over the phone as well. Like, it wasn't even in person.
Yeah. I love how
it is the most wild thing. Oh, crazy. It was this girl in Brisbane who I would recommend to anyone. She's amazing. I forget her name right now, but she was great. I had a couple of appointments with her, and then I started to go down a bit of a spiritual road with healing. So there was definitely the movement piece that was becoming more and more prominent in my life. I was moving a lot. I was really feeling that there was definitely a connection between how mentally strong I felt when I started to feel physically stronger. So I kept that up. And then I had this day that kind of sent me down this spiritual path, and it was this appointment with this psychic medium in Brisbane. And I'd been recommended this guy through a few people. A lot of people in Brisbane see him. He's very popular. Yeah. And I had never seen a medium before. I had no one that had passed that I wanted to speak to, so I'd never felt the need to. But I waited for, I think it was a year after I lost Mum, and I booked in to see him in Brisbane. I travelled up to Brisbane to go and see him. I was very sceptical. I was like, this cannot be real.
Were you spiritual before you met him? Were you
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. So different. Like, I'm very spiritual. It's a big part of who I am now.
Yeah.
It impacts the way I think every day, all day. But spirituality was not a part of me back then. Yeah. I was very non-spiritual. I don't actually think I knew what spirituality meant.
Yeah.
I knew what religion meant, but I didn't know what spirituality meant. It was always like this thing that other people kind of talked about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I went and saw this guy, and it was the wildest experience of my life. And he was very clearly speaking to my mum.
What made you think that that was definitely the connection with him?
The messages were so specific about details of how she died, why she did it, which I won't share, but very, very specific details that aren't publicly available knowledge,
that he
information.
Couldn't have
he couldn't have found it out.
Yeah.
He was also talking about people in photos that were face down on a table, so he couldn't see the photos, but he was talking about the people in them, including what they were wearing, their relationships between them. He knew details of my life, my relationships with my kids, things we say to each other that you could not know unless you were in our house.
Yeah, wow.
So the level of detail is out of control. And I will say that I know talking about mediums and that sort of thing can be polarizing, and some people will listen to that and be like, this girl's so gullible, whatever. And I don't really care. But I will say this, I'm actually not very gullible when it comes to spiritual mediums. Because he's in Brisbane, I have tried to replicate this sort of experience with so many others.
Yeah.
And there are so many shocking ones out there.
Yeah.
Everyone else that I've seen, I'm like, oh my God, I see right through this bullshit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm actually not... This experience is wild. And I've been to him twice now. I went to him another time. The second time was just with a list of questions for him, essentially. Yeah. Because the first time I just sat there with my mouth open like this. Literally just like staring at him, shaking with my mouth open, not knowing what to say. And he was just rattling off these messages from my mum.
Yeah.
That was so insane. And I left there, and I have been a different person since that moment, because I left and I was like, whoa, if there is a possibility that there is life after death, what else is real that I have never considered to be real, that I have always considered to be bullshit? You know what I mean? Like, and from that moment, I think it just opened up my mind to let everything else in. Like, and I think after I had that experience, all these other things started to come at me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like when you open yourself up and you go, okay, I'm going to try anything. I'm open now. Yeah. And then things started to, things start to present themselves to you. I ran into a friend at the playground, Sally, and she was telling me what she does, because I didn't know her that well at the time. Yeah. She was telling me how she is an EFT tapping therapist. In the past, I would have been like, that sounds woo-woo, not for me. I was like, cool, I'll try it. Yeah. And the results I had from that, insane. Yeah. Really, really cool. Unlocked not just trauma from my mum and the experience of losing mum, but like all this other shit that I had been keeping in there for my whole life. Memories came up that I did not know were in there, you know, that I had never thought about since I was 4 or 5, you know, just crazy stuff comes up. And then one thing, that kind of EFT tapping thing led to Reiki, and then another person introduced me to breath work, another friend introduced me to sound baths. Things kept coming up that were all new to me, and they all kind of came to me in this like 1 to 2 year period of my life. Yeah. And so I've just released all this traumatic energy that was within me, and I'm just a different person. Yeah. To be completely honest with you, did struggle with mental health, my own mental health, for a long time. From the time I was a teenager. It started when I was 15, and it finished, I'm going to say 5 years ago. 4 or 5 years ago. And I've never felt better, and I don't have the ups and downs anymore. I've changed a lot of things in my life. I've done a lot of healing, spent a lot of time trying to better myself. And prior to that, I was really up and down. Like, I'd have like a depressive episode, and then I'd be anxious, and then I had suffered a lot from anxiety kind of in the 8 years prior to that. There was all sorts, I've never been like super on top of my mental health until the last kind of 5 years. Yeah. As I think a lot of people go through that sort of thing, you know. Yeah. But I'm so open to talking about it. I feel zero shame. But I can't say that one thing I've done has been like the pivotal thing, because I kind of have tried so many things in the last few years, made so many changes within myself, health-wise. But I think a combination of all of it has really helped me. So now I guess when I'm feeling like I'm getting stressed, when I'm getting anxious, I feel like I've got this like toolkit of things. You know what I mean? Yeah. I've got a big toolkit of things that I can go to. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, there was so much in there, and thank you for sharing all of that.
Of course.
I think when you were talking about, you know, that you just started, you know, really slowly with getting movement back into your day, right? I remember when I went through a really challenging time, like about now like 12 years ago or something like that. And I remember seeing my first therapist in Sydney, and she was telling me that even if you just go for a walk a day, like a 45-minute walk a day, is literally the same as taking light antidepressants, right? So that's what movement can do for you, right? It's like that strong body, strong mind. So I think it's such an I mean, it sounds easy because when you're in a space like that, it's not always easy to move your body, but it is a very accessible and
it's like the first tool in my toolkit
right?
now, you know, and it's a daily non-negotiable for me now.
Exactly. And I just love as well how you were saying that when you saw the psychologist, that just did not feel like the right thing.
Yeah.
But then when you saw that medium, even though you weren't spiritual before, he just opened something up within you.
Yeah.
And I think that is such a beautiful story, because it's like you tried it with a psychologist. That obviously wasn't the right journey to take for you at this time.
For me, yeah.
But then the medium opened up something that you didn't even realize was within you. And it just started bringing in all those other beautiful things into your life that you've since then experienced. And I think that's awesome, because and I totally get it when you said, like, sometimes you go to people, you're like, oh, that's a bit dodgy, or I don't really know. And
that sounds very broad, and I know that you're reading my reaction and then going down that path. Like, I can see right through it.
And sometimes you meet people and, like you said, you're just like sitting there with your mouth open going like, whoa, I'm so confused. Like, how do you know all of this?
How do you know
like,
this? And how did I not know that there was an afterlife? And, you know, there was more to life than just what I can see. Yeah. That's so beautiful. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to share from a message from your mom that you got through the medium, or is that something that you would rather not share?
Let me have a think. Oh, yeah, I will share one thing that was really weird. So it's kind of a bit personal, but I don't really care. So when Mum passed away, I was about 7 weeks pregnant with Imi. And obviously it took me a while to figure it out. One of the reasons being is because I actually thought I had my period, and I thought I got it the day of Mum's funeral. So I started bleeding the day of Mum's funeral. And I thought, so I thought that was a period. So then any thought previously I had of maybe I'm pregnant because I'm nauseous, that went out the window. I was like, I'm definitely not pregnant. I'm just traumatized.
Yeah.
Anyway, so in the appointment with this medium, he pulls out a photo of my daughter face down, so he can't actually see who's in the photo. He starts talking about her, and he goes, your mum and your daughter have a really beautiful connection. Now, I believe, from my memory, I got sick the day Mum died, right? So I believe there was a very close crossover. Of me getting pregnant, or that kind of attaching, you know, me being properly pregnant, and her leaving. I feel like they crossed over on the same day. And he said they've got a very beautiful relationship, and he said, your mum is telling me that you were about 7 weeks pregnant with her when your mum died. And I said, yeah, that's exactly right. I think I was about 7, 8 weeks. And he said, your mum's telling me that you almost lost her. You almost lost the baby from the stress of her passing, and she kept her here for you.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I said, how does that work? And he goes, she wrapped her energy around her and she kept her here for you.
Yeah.
So that was something that's really beautiful, that's always stuck in my memory a lot.
Yeah. That is beautiful. It's
Yeah.
really sad, but it's beautiful.
No, it's so weird. Like, one soul
crossover,
left
but
and another one came in, and it was a girl. Like, that was really weird, because I thought I was for sure that I was going to have another boy. I think you just automatically think you're going to have what you've got already. And then when I found out I was having a girl, I was like, oh my God, it's a girl.
Yeah.
It's so weird. Yeah. And I think people found that a bit weird as well, because I just lost my mum.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Did you ask yourself if your mum would still be here if she would have known that you were pregnant?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I do wonder. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I wonder a lot of things, if we could have changed it, if, you know, little things could have changed her mind on that day, you know? Yeah. If she had known I was pregnant, maybe she would have stayed. If I had called her that morning, would she have stayed? I distinctly remember playing with my son on my bed that morning, and he was doing something cute, and I remember I went to FaceTime her that morning, and then something else happened. Maybe I had to change his nappy, I don't know, something interrupted me, and I didn't call her that day, and that plays on my mind heaps, you know, like if I had just called her that morning, could I have snapped her out of whatever was going through her head? You know, that definitely does cross my mind. But, I mean, there was lots of other things to live for. My sister was about to get married. My poor sister was about to get married. If there was anything that was going to make her think rationally about her decision, it would have been that, you know. And it didn't. I don't know if anything could have changed her mind on that day. I think she wasn't herself. She definitely wasn't herself.
I did a story with Suicide Prevention Australia a couple of years ago, and I remember I remember interviewing one of the guys that had a suicide attempt, and he was a beautiful man. He's a beautiful man, and I always remember what he said to me. And he said, "It's not that you don't want to live anymore; it's that you just cannot handle the pain anymore."
Yeah.
And I found that so profound. And there obviously are different reasons for different people, but there was like a lot of that, it's not that you don't want to be here anymore, it's just that the pain is just becoming too excruciating. So it's like, it's almost like you said, it's like it's almost out of your control because you just cannot handle the pain anymore.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what, because she did leave us a note. It wasn't a very in-depth note. It was definitely written in a rush. But that's definitely something that she mentioned. Yeah, she was in a lot of pain.
Yeah.
What brought that about, we'll never know.
Yeah.
How long has she been feeling it? Don't know. Yeah.
It's also a reminder to check in with people, right? Because sometimes people seem fine on the outside, but then
she faked it so well. Right? Like the last conversation we had as a family, because do you remember at the start of COVID, everyone was feeling lonely and everyone would do those big family video calls? The last time we all chatted as a family was the week before.
Yeah.
We did a big video call, all of us were on there. And she was so normal.
Yeah.
She was herself. She was normal. I was moaning about going back to work. My sister was stressed out about her wedding. And she was the one there going, guys, it's going to be all right. Like, just don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine. Claire's wedding's going to be amazing when it happens. She was herself. And
I mean, I guess that's really the scary thing as well when we're thinking about just life in general and the people that you have around yourself. Because I've often heard the stories with people, that they did struggle and then they seemed to be getting better or they felt really good again. And that's when they ended up harming themselves, for example. So, but even just the thought of, it's not always what it seems like to be,
That's true. But the thing with suicide is you don't get those answers.
No.
And you have to be okay with never getting those answers. You have to somehow find peace with what happened, and just, I think the spirituality has helped me a little bit in that way, because, if you believe that everything happens the way it's meant to, and we came here with our whole life planned out in front of us, the way we wanted it to be, to learn the lessons that we came here to learn, then it gives me a little bit of comfort. Yeah. And also I think when you believe that we have multiple lives, I feel like that gives you a bit of comfort as well. And the fact that I'll see her again,
Talking about seeing her again and talking about the fact that you have found that spiritual side of you through this whole experience, do you feel her?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Does she come to you in different ways?
Well, the dreams is one thing. The dreams is not pleasant. I think I dream about her, I'm going to say every second night. Like, it's a lot. And sometimes it's scary. Like, it's not always nice.
Yeah.
In fact, it's usually not nice. I'm still struggling with the nightmares.
Yeah.
A lot. But I've just gotten used to getting up in the morning and just kind of brushing it off and going about my day. But that is, one thing that kind of haunts me. But I don't know if that's her visiting me or my mind just doing its thing.
Yeah.
But I definitely feel her, like, a lot. Like, I get little signs. Like, I remember one day I was, like, really sad. And it was only last year. And I don't get days like this often at all anymore. It's been 5 years. Like, I've had a lot of time to heal. I reckon I had one day like this last year where I was just crying and I was just not feeling good. And I got into the car and I turned on the radio and Candle in the Wind was playing. And I have not heard that song since her funeral. It was the last song we played at her funeral and I haven't heard it since. And I just knew that was like her just being like, it's okay, I'm here, it's all good.
Yeah.
And then other little things, like creepy things, like lights flickering. Like the other night I was cooking at the stove and Mum was big into cooking. Like, she cooked a lot. And so she knew her way around the kitchen. But I was cooking and I'd forgotten to turn the exhaust fan on and it just, bing, it went on.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
TVs turn on sometimes in our house.
That's what they say, right? With
the kids get a little bit freaked out by, the kids get a little bit freaked out by the lights flickering a lot.
Yeah.
And I've been told by that medium that is her.
Yeah.
He was like, do your lights flicker a lot? And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's definitely things. What else? I don't know. I just feel like she's there sometimes.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah.
I remember, but before I had kind of an interest in spirituality or any kind of inclination towards it, I remember feeling like she wasn't. I remember just feeling like she wasn't around. But maybe it's now that I'm open to it. I'm open to it. Yeah,
because it's interesting when you're reading into those books, and I've always been really into that stuff. They also say, that guides and angels and, they're always constantly trying to communicate with us, but it's more that we are closed off as humans.
Yeah, 100%.
So it is like when you open yourself up to that and when you are willing to receive those things, that's when you start noticing things happening to
That's
you,
what
right?
I think too.
Yeah.
And maybe we're just connecting dots that aren't there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
But maybe
there's people that are like, maybe you just do it so that it makes you feel better.
And
but
if that's it, that's it. It's great.
Awesome.
It makes me feel good.
Yeah, exactly.
Then it's done its job.
Yeah.
But I'm happier for it.
Yeah.
Way happier for it.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's given me so much perspective on this lifetime as well, because I used to stress out about little things and now I don't sweat the small stuff at all. I would not have been able to start this business if I cared what people think about me, and I've completely lost any concern about what people think of me, because I think because I see this lifetime as like smaller in comparison to all the lifetimes that we have, because I believe strongly in reincarnation.
Same,
and so once you have that perspective that this is like a chapter rather than everything, it makes every tiny little stressor less important. And so when something that would have used to completely give me anxiety, I'm like, oh, whatever. It's not a big deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
It really does give you perspective.
It does give you perspective. So talk to me about that, and let's jump into your business a little bit more. So how did this experience of losing your mom, and going through all of that, how did that change your perspective on life, I guess, and also on how you are living life? And you've given us a little bit on that now already, but, moving you into like then how you also started your business.
Well, it's so interesting, right? I've been reflecting on this a lot. It's like, why did that experience change me so much? And I honestly think it scared me a little bit because, as I said, have had my own struggles with my own mental health, and it scared me. Like, I just thought, what if this happens to me one day? What if I'm like one, episode of anxiety or depression or something away from getting that low, I think, to be honest with you. And so I dramatically started cutting shit out of my life that doesn't serve me anymore. I think just because it was like self-preservation, right?
Yeah.
I feel like there is a genetic component to poor mental health. I can see that in my mum's side of the family for sure.
Yeah.
It's something that does get passed down, and I was just like, I cannot let this affect my kids. I cannot pass this down to my children. I'm so protective over them, and I just don't want poor mental health to impact them because I've been through it and it sucks. It's the worst.
Yeah.
And so I will do anything to preserve my own mental health, make me happier, because I know it will be better for them. Their whole life will be different if I'm
effect, right?
Sane, essentially.
Because you are working through things that you're not passing on anymore for them, so they don't have to work through it.
Some of it's learned behavior, I'm sure. There is a genetic component, but if I can help the situation by like making their environment just like so unstressful and give them an example of someone who has their shit together, then I'm going to do it. So I cut things out that weren't working for me. My husband was like, don't go back to that job. Take some more time off after, because I'm very fortunate to be able to take some extra time off after Imi went to daycare. So she was about 15 months. Eddie was like, take a little bit more time, figure out what you want to do. Don't go back to that job. It would stress you out. You were anxious for the last 2 jobs. Let's think about something else. So I took some time off, and I was just like full blown into healing mode. I was just spending my time going to Pilates, working on myself, meditating. So lucky to be able to do that, I know. And then I decided to do my Pilates training. There was other things I did as well. I fixed my diet. My diet was pretty up and down. Cut out alcohol. I haven't had a drink in years, literally. It's amazing. I feel so good for it. But yeah, I decided to do my Pilates course because that was just becoming more and more a passion of mine.
Yeah.
And did my training and started teaching at a couple of studios pretty quickly after I finished my training, got my certification. Started teaching off the bat. I was just like, I need to just throw myself headfirst into this. And I was obsessed. Like, I love my family, but I would go to bed thinking about Pilates. I would wake up thinking about Pilates. I was like, I am going to get good at this job. Like I really wanted it, you know?
Yeah.
And then magically, these beautiful, beautiful boys, men who own VRTUS, I have a relationship with them through my husband, Eddie, who goes to their gym every day and has been for years, way before I had a relationship with them. So that came about through him. And I started to chat to them just about teaching some mat Pilates in the gym.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were like, we've got some teachers who teach mat Pilates like every Sunday or something when there's no other classes on. That teacher or teachers are leaving. Do you want to come and do some mat Pilates for us? They had the new space opening up on Bondi Road. The big gym that used to be a panel beater, huge big black building now. It's amazing. It's like a big warehouse in there. Great energy in there. They were like, when it was like going through renovations, like they hadn't even opened it yet. They were like, do you want to come and see this floor space, see if this could work for you? Yeah.
You're awesome.
It was back before it opened. It was like a good 6 months before it opened.
Yeah.
And they said, what do you think about doing some mat Pilates on the gym floor when we don't have classes on? And I said, yeah, absolutely. I'm so keen, because VRTUS is just such an epic gym.
Yeah.
The community they have built is out of control. The people in there are so awesome.
Yeah.
Everyone just loves it. Everyone that goes there is like obsessed.
It is a really good vibe.
The workouts are great.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how they've done it. They're amazing guys. They're amazing entrepreneurs. They're good business people. And most of all, they just care more about people than money. And I think that's why they've been able to build such an epic brand. And so, yeah, any opportunity to work with them, I was like, yes, absolutely. And then the conversation just kind of, I don't know, it escalated. And all of a sudden, I was like opening a reformer studio in the building. I don't know how it happened. And I'd only been teaching for like 6 months. So my initial reaction was like, absolutely not. When they offered me the space, I just said, no, I can't do that. Like I've just started teaching. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, to be honest. Like, I still had this like incredible imposter syndrome. I'd come into the industry late. Like some of these teachers have been doing this for decades. I've just been doing this for 6 months. Anyway, so somehow my husband talked me into it, was like, absolutely, we should do this. Why wouldn't we do it? Let's just throw in everything. Like we can do this, we can make it work.
Yeah.
He's always so supportive, so positive, always.
Yeah.
And so somehow we made the decision to do it, and we just did it. And I worked really, really hard for a few months to get it off the ground. I had to renovate the space. I had to build a brand. I did the, setting up the booking system. Setting up a business is hard work.
Everything.
Yeah. And setting up a physical space with reformer bed, it's hard work.
Yeah.
So it was a slog at the start. It was a slog for the first year.
Yeah.
It was a lot of teaching hours, a lot of early mornings. I was tired a lot last year.
So you started about a year ago,
It was
right?
a year and 3 months ago we opened.
Yeah.
But it has been the most rewarding thing I have done in my whole life, other than having children.
Yeah.
It has been the best. It's incredible for so many reasons. It's the best job. Teaching Pilates is the best job. It's so cruisy, especially to a small group of people. It's not nerve-wracking. I get so much joy from like building cool workouts for people and then teaching a small group of people that I know. We all know each other now. All the members know each other. It's an intimate space. The community, like downstairs, is like it's translated upstairs, Yeah, yeah. It's a great energy in there. It's trying to manage the teaching hours with managing the business last year was hard, but now as we've built up the group of members, I've been able to take myself off more teaching and on more managing of the business and more time at home with the kids.
Yeah.
So this year I feel like my balance is really good. Like I'm probably teaching each week, I'm teaching between, I'd say 10 and 13 hours a week.
Yeah.
So it's not that intense.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty good. It's pretty manageable. And then the rest of the time I'm managing the business, and I just love the flexibility with the family because I can be there to pick the kids up 3-4 o'clock from school. I can take time off whenever I like. I can go away for 2 weeks and not bat an eyelid. I just get up the teachers to cover my shifts, but it's like it's not that bad to go and leave the business. Like it runs. Yeah. Like it's just really good. It's a really good mum job.
That's a really good setup that you've got there now. And I love the space because it's like you said, it's such an intimate space. There's six beds in there.
Yeah, it's small.
And it's very much like, it's very tailored, You don't feel like you're one of 50 or 60 people that's in there just kind of trying to, I don't know,
get along what the right thing for them to
but
do
you
is.
really feel like, if you're doing something wrong or if you don't know, like you can ask.
I've got eyes on you.
You've got eyes on us.
You cannot get away with anything in that room. I see your form and I will fix it. Yeah.
So, and it's just like talking about energy, it just feels like really good energy. Like I just love coming in. And I mean, I sometimes say to you, like there was a couple of weeks ago, I was there like 15 minutes earlier because I thought the class started at 9. And I was just lying there and I'm like, oh, this is just so nice, because I feel like as soon as I'm there, I can just relax, you know?
Well, that's what it is. And Pilates has always been that escape for me.
Yeah.
I've always felt like it was an escape for a few
It's like
reasons.
leaving
Just
your
because
life
it's like
behind.
leaving the stress of your life.
Yeah.
You put your phone away and you just spend 50 minutes moving your body. And
Yeah.
also the way Pilates is taught, and I talk about this a lot when I try to explain what mindful movement actually means. The way that Pilates is taught is that you're constantly coming back to, or the instructor is constantly bringing your attention back to your form, back to your movement, adding layers, complexity, coordination. So you don't actually have time to think about the past, think about the future. You're practicing mindfulness, which I've talked about before. And it's a great way to relax.
Yeah.
And you come out of the class feeling amazing. And then I always add, because I am so passionate about meditation and breath work, I always add the breath work on the end.
I love that.
I burn my Palo Santo. I've got my woo-woo things that I do. But yeah, I just feel like it's just such a beautiful mental space for everyone, and that's what everyone comments on.
It is. It's like it feels like you're living and you've had therapy while you've had Pilates. Like
strengthen your body
therapy.
and relax your mind.
Exactly. But that's what it feels like. It's so good.
And then I've been doing a lot of events on the side, obviously.
Yeah, because you've trained in some other modalities.
I've trained in the sound bowls.
Right?
Yeah, I got my sound. They don't call it sound healing anymore. Sound baths, I think is the right way to describe it. It's basically just like a really deep meditation.
Yeah, I love it.
Oh my God, it's epic. So good. It's so underrated. People that haven't done it probably like, what is that crazy bowl lady doing, honestly?
No, I love
Running that thing around the outside of the bowls. It is so good. The sound is like, it massages your brain. I remember the first time I did it, coming out of there and saying to Eddie, I just feel like my brain had a massage.
Yeah.
It's like, then the reason, there is scientific reasoning behind it. Your brain waves entrain to the sound waves that are produced from the bowls. So because it's so loud and because it's vibrational sound, not just normal sound, it comes from the vibration of the bowls, your brain waves calm right down really quickly. So you don't have to lie there and go, okay, just slow down your thoughts, stop thinking. Like you kind of do sometimes when you're trying to meditate.
Yeah.
It's like it kind of does the hard work for you, and you're down in that theta brainwave state.
Yeah.
Really meditative. Subconscious thoughts come up, memories,
really
like lots. It's really healing. You go really deep, really quick. And I like to do it after movement because I feel like you already come out of that busy mind state, I'd say, down to the movement where you're not thinking about anything else. Then often I'll do the sound baths to go deeper, or work with someone else to do the breath work in between. And that's super powerful. Breath work's amazing as well. But I'm not trained in that yet.
Yet.
Yeah.
I know we talked about that, right? Once you start doing the courses and doing that work, it's like a little rabbit hole. You're like, what am I going to do next? Like, what am I going to train next? Because there's just so many supporting modalities.
And I have so much love for it all that I just want to be
Yeah.
able to provide it for people, you know what I mean? Like, it's so nice being able to do this for people.
Yeah.
And how cool would it be to hold an event where I'm like, Pilates, then breathwork, then a sound bath?
Yeah, exactly.
So one day.
You're very close. You've got 2 out of 3.
It's all happening a bit fast.
So, Nicky, having done a lot of healing on your own journey, you know, how important do you think deep personal and collective healing is in the world that we are living in right now?
I think it is just really important to be open-minded, because before I lost my mum, I thought if I'm feeling crap, my options are go on medication or go and see a psychologist. That's all I thought there was available to me. I didn't realize all these other things I could be doing. I didn't know that. I never looked into meditation. I just thought it was kind of woo-woo. I never knew that breathwork existed. I never knew that kinesiology existed. I didn't know Reiki existed. I didn't know EFT tapping existed. There's so many things out there that you can try that may work for you. You just don't know until you try it.
Don't do it before you try it.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Just try to be open-minded, and just also, I just don't think you can force people into things as well. You know what I mean? I think things will happen for people at the right time.
Yeah.
And I remember saying that to that medium that I saw, and I remember being like, I'm so frustrated because I just want my dad to come and be able to, you know, get messages from mum, like, what can I do? And he was like, don't ever force anyone into this. Like, if it's right for them, it'll happen at the right time. You can't tell people to be spiritual. You know what I mean? Don't tell people they should do breath work because it might not be for them.
Yeah.
And I do know people who've tried it and they're like, it doesn't really do anything for me. So, you know, everyone has to go on their own journey and everyone has to find out what works for them. But I think in this day and age where everyone is very stressed, life is fast. Like the pace of life, I don't know if it's Sydney, I don't know if it's the whole world. It's getting faster and faster, especially after you have kids. I think learning new ways to release stress and tension and bring yourself back to balance is just so key, because I feel like that energy just builds and builds and builds, and it's not good for us. You've got to let it go. Yeah. Find ways to release it.
Nicky, thank you so much for being here today with me.
Of course.
I loved
that
our
was super fun.
Thank you.
I loved it too.
You're amazing.
Of course. It was awesome. Thank you.
I'll give you a hug in a second. The 3 pearls of wisdom that I'm taking away from today are that, first of all, like, you know, grief is a journey. And it looks different for different people, you know, it doesn't look the same for everybody. And as Nicky was talking about all the different things that she has, you know, tried and experienced throughout the journey of her own grief, you know, it's not one thing necessarily that helps you get out of it, but it's an accumulation of all those things that, you know, over time help you feel better again, start supporting you. The second one is the sentiment around strong body, strong mind, and the fact that, you know, bringing movement into your life doesn't just strengthen you physically, but it also strengthens you emotionally, and it does actually have a huge effect on how you can show up in the world. And then the third one is to just, you know, be open-minded of what's available. And even though sometimes you might think something's not for you, you know, just giving it a try. Sometimes you don't know which journey it kind of leads you down. And like Nicky told us the story so beautifully about the medium she saw, even though she wasn't spiritual, and that opened up a whole worldview to her that she wasn't exposed to before, but that she since then has embraced. So yeah, they're kind of the 3 things that I wanted to mention again.
Awesome.
So Nicky, tell us, how can people find you, where can they get in touch with you, and how can they come and experience your amazing classes?
Good one. So my studio is called Kiel by VRTUS. It is a little reformer studio in the VRTUS Bondi Gym on Bondi Road. So that's VRTUS. It is a great little space. Reformer workouts are awesome. I've got some great teachers in there, not just myself, that put in the work every day to deliver awesome workouts. So we'd love to see anyone in there who wants to improve upon their practice and have some fun. And I also, as we mentioned, run events alongside the studio. So the best way to probably keep on top of the events that I've got coming up is just on my Instagram, nicky.kiel, nicky.kiel, or I usually post them on the studio's page as well, which is kiel.pilates, kiel.pilates. Those are probably the best ways to keep up with the events and the studio.
Awesome, and we'll put all those links in the show notes as well, so
Amazing.
people can click on them and find you really easy. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I really hope that you got something out of this episode today. Nicky has shared her story about, you know, losing her mom very vulnerably and openly, and also what came out of that and the post-traumatic growth that she has experienced and how she's living her life now with her beautiful little family. Please do share the podcast with your family, with your friends, anybody who you think might benefit from the things that Nicky shared today. And also, share it with anybody who wants a really awesome Pilates workout. I can highly recommend it. It's awesome. You'll also see me there, maybe. You'll meet us both there. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. I'm sending love and light your way, and until next time.